That day, the mansion of Mangrave Roswell L. Mathers collapsed with a whimper. Ironically enough, the first to notice the collapse was the woman who, more than anyone else, had desperately struggled to maintain the mansion. And because of that, her actions had been ruthless. At its genesis, she'd received from the master of the house, from Roswell, a great benefit. So, hearing that the maid sisters who had taken care of the mansion no longer held their positions, knowing that the owner had nobody to take care of him, she immediately rushed to that owner's side. The change in appearance of the owner brought a most terrible pain to her chest. Those two, suspiciously glinting, brimming with confidence, differently colored pupils, the eccentric and frank way of speech, the pale makeup of a clown that could be said to be the epitome of bad taste, the choice of fashion that appeared to be clawing at other people's aesthetic sense. Just about every light had disappeared from Roswell. After receiving such a reunion with him, the woman, Frederica, clenched her fist tight. It cannot end like this. For the sake of those girls, I will. Earnest in thought, she would guard that place of belonging. Rather than thinking on whether something could be done, focusing on hope and wanting to do something. For that reason, she'd started to act. To raise the mansion once again, she moved. And even if she did not know how, with a hand seeking cooperation, she would drag the master by the arm every day, busily running around. There was no time to stop and fret for Frederica. Even though sometimes she would grow disheartened with her state of mind in that difficult situation, she always raised her head with fervor. Were she to falter at any point, she would not be worthy to gaze upon the faces of those precious to her. At some point, she'd forgotten how to smile. At some point, she'd forgotten to welcome night with a relaxed mind. Even then, Frederica did her utmost to protect that which she loved, to surround the bubbles spreading away on the water's surface with her arms so they would not escape. Even so, by the time Frederica finally realized it, it was already too late for everything in the mansion. White. The soles of her shoes were frozen to the hallway. She lost sight of where her own self was. The sight of the once familiar mansion had become distinctly different from what she knew. The carefully cleaned corridor, the kitchen where she had cooked, where she had run ragged for those that needed her care. All that Frederica knew on a daily basis had, in front of her eyes, now become a clouded white world. And as for those who had done all this, Great Spirit Sama. Sorry, Frederica. You're not to blame. It's just that, if I'm to protect my most precious thing, then this is the best decision to make. Saying this, showing its face and floating in the air, was a small cat with gray fur. Its size only that of a fist, yet a supernatural existence, carrying immense power in that small of a body. It was the Great Spirit, Puck. She did not want to believe, but now there was no reason to doubt. that the one who had wrapped the mansion in this white demise, transforming it. Why do this?
I said it already. All my actions are for Leah. Leah agreed to leave the forest because it was what she wanted to do, and also for her safety. Or so I thought. But there's no Worth here anymore. I wonder where it all went wrong. Roswell was my miscalculation. That pitiful thing's just your everyday guy.
Shaking their head, Puck shot at her with voice devoid of any emotion. At those words, Frederica's breath hitched, and soon afterwards, clanking her sharp denture, insulting the master of this house in front of me, a maid, cannot be forgiven.
You, too, are a pitiful child. Only you are desperate to protect this fallen place.
Please stop talking as if you are referring to the past. It's not over yet. She called sharply, without having a chance, toward the Great Spirit. Faced with Frederica's words of defiance, the kitten narrowed their round eyes and gazed with pity on their face, reacting to that existence's movement and expression, which to some extent smelled human-like. Frederica leaned forward and lowered her body. Amelia Sama would be sad. That one brief hesitation from the small Great Spirit might give her the win. This was what Frederic was hoping, but...
Unfortunately, I'm weak to Leah. I cannot move on from my child. I'm a mama bear.
Even a moment's hesitation, some small opening from that Great Spirit did not appear. As the world of difference between her and Puck reflected in her eyes, Frederica firmly smashed her molars together. Whether it was the beginnings of regret or grief, it was too late to be felt. Just a simple white breeze blew, and with that, alone the woman named Frederica was frozen. That marked the beginning of the collapse of Roswell's mansion.